right. So now that we've talked more about that, the four-term contingency and the motivating operations, let's talk a little bit more about, and we're going to get into reinforcement. I feel like we have to review the functions of behavior, right? So all behavior can be categorized as to get something or to escape something, right? So a lot of ABA videos or cute graphics, you'll see they use the acronym of EAT or SEAT of the function. So let's say that the functions are sensory, escape, attention, or tangibles, SEAT. That's not untrue, but I like to think of it as more of two buckets, that your function, you're either going to try to get something or to escape, avoid. So I don't like escape being seen as its own thing, because then it's thought of it's always to like physically leave somewhere. You can try to get or obtain tangibles, which are just anything, material, item, object, activity, leisure activity, attention, so social attention, attention from pets, right? Or sensory items, which are activities or feelings. I'll talk about again in a minute. Or your function can be to escape or avoid all those same things, to get away from, right? So it's every behavior's function, everything is to either get and obtain something or escape and avoid one of these three categories. When it comes to sensory, it can also be called automatic reinforcement. I don't want you to think about it's not the same thing as a reflex. It's not the same thing as respondent behavior, but rather consequences are delivered automatically. So it's reinforcement that occurs independent of another person delivering it. It's just that the response itself produces the reinforcement. So like wriggling your leg during the boring lecture, twirling your hands. My daughter twirls her hair to help fall asleep. She used to pull my hair when I would rock her to fall asleep. So I'm very happy that I was able to shape that behavior into pulling and twirling her own hair instead of mine. It definitely didn't help with the postpartum hair loss. But anyway, so that automatic sensory reinforcement is is because it feels good and it doesn't require, or sometimes it's to have some sort of alternate sensory input. We could have a whole other discussion about the sensory needs and different sensory profiles of individuals. But I just want you to realize that's another function of behavior. So then reinforcers can have similar formal properties. So we can have reinforcers that are edible, meaning they're food. And so we can also put those primary reinforcers. We can have sensory reinforcers, things that feel good. So massage, tickles, high fives, tangible reinforcers. So this can be trinkets, toys, activities, or social. But it's really important to remember, as I said, people are different. And people change over time. What people like at different points in time changes based on their moods and also their motivating operations, right? So their history of reinforcement, what they've had access to, is going to change what they are motivated for and what they might find reinforcing at any particular time. So in these types of reinforcers, there are three broad categories. So all of these formal properties, any of these items can fall into these three, with the exception of the food. Food falls in this unconditioned box. So unconditioned reinforcers, we also call those primary or unlearned, are just the product of evolutionary history of a species. So all members of a species are more or less susceptible to reinforcement, with the exception of like allergies or preferences, right? So like my kids love weird stuff like smoked salmon and sauerkraut, and which is, I say weird, that in some cultures that's totally typical in the standard American diet. Most 2 and 4-year-olds don't love that stuff. Mine do. So we typically, though, don't have to like teach kids to like Skittles. So these primary reinforcers are things that most anyone in a species are going to like. Example, if in animals, it might be like a dog treat or children in candy. Conditioned reinforcers, we also call those secondary or learned. So they're previously just like a neutral stimulus change that has acquired the capability to function as a reinforcer through pairing. Okay. And so things like clicker training for dogs, if you're familiar with that, And what I'm actually going to have you do is, that is item number 6 on the Canvas module, is a video. It's very quick, 1 minute, and it's got dogs. So who doesn't want to watch a video of a dog? Is a clicker training video. And so you can see the example of how they take a unconditioned stimulus, pair it with a neutral stimulus, a clicker, and then turn that clicker into a conditioned stimulus. And so go ahead and click over, watch that video, and then you'll understand what clicker training is. Okay, so coming back to this, another example would be stickers, right? And so initially you may not understand what stickers are, but then students, after being in school, understand that, oh, getting a sticker on my page, that turns into, that is a form of praise. That means that I did a good job, okay? And so we often, most things in life are conditioned stimuli, that they have been paired, and we have then learned that that's a reinforcer. Generalized stimuli are then things that think of generalized stimuli are things that were conditioned, and then as a result of having been paired many, many, many times, they're basically reinforcing no matter what. So generalized reinforcers almost disregard your motivating operation. It's like money. Like, we're kind of always motivated to get more money. Skittles. I mean, maybe not always. We're not always motivated to get more Skittles. But generalized reinforcers, points, as far as grades go, are generalized reinforcers. Token economies are essentially what are generalized reinforcers, right? And so students had to learn that, oh, I get this, Paw Patrol thing, and then I exchange it for something else, and then I have to learn that, oh, now I need 5 of these, and then I'm working for something else. So a token economy, these are the scientific principles behind why that works. The Premack principle, which I mentioned, this is also what makes this work, right? It's the concept that a more probable behavior can be used to reinforce a less probable behavior. And so the whole first work, then computer, okay? It's first we have a task, and then we can use a reinforcer to sort of entice. It's something that we know that they like. So first broccoli, then ice cream, or first your work, then your iPad. We want to build students up to maybe 3 or 4 things. So first, then next schedules. It's never, by the way, if you don't do your work, then you don't get a computer, because all the kids hear is don't and no, and you've lost them, right? But these same principles are what makes the Premack principle, or first, then schedules, work. But how do you know what the then should be? How do you know what, in the token economy, what students should be working towards and what they want to do? We need a preference assessment, right? And as I said a couple of times, people are different, kids are different, kids change, and people want different things at different times. So even if you sort of understand, maybe if they're satiated with something, especially if they're in your class all the time, and like, oh, okay, well, they just got a lot of time on the iPad, so now they may not be interested in that, or we may not be able to go outside because it's raining, so I'm going to need to find something else for them to do. It's important that you have a wide range of reinforcers available, that you are attending to what their interests are, so that you can support quick and efficient behavior change. So what you